Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time here. I'm May, and this is going to be my January TBR. I literally cannot believe it's about to be 2026, but this is going to be my last video of 2025. This will be coming out on December 28th, just because I'm busy and I have another video coming out the first week of January. So you're getting this one a little bit early, but we're going to dive into what my TBR for January is going to be, and I have a lot of fun stuff happening. So, January is actually the third installment of Mooing with Friends. It's gonna work a little bit different because the friend that I'm doing it for isn't like a social media person. They're just like my actual friend that I like know IRL, who is also in the digital space, but they don't have like a social media account around reading or anything like that. They're a huge K-pop stan. If you like K-pop, I'll have some of their K-pop stuff linked, but like they don't really do any of the reading stuff quite like I do, but we're best friends, and January is their birthday. So I was like, you have to do it in January. Like, it's perfect. Like, I can read your favorite books for your birthday, and then hopefully I love them, so then I get to enjoy your favorite books around your birthday month, and hopefully I don't hate them, because that would be awkward. But it is the third installment of Mooing with Friends. If you are not familiar with Mooing with Friends, it is I don't really know what to call it, like a continuous readathon where I have one of my friends pick out my entire TBR for the month every 3 months. So Cat was the very first one. She picked it out in July, and then Friday picked it out in October, and now it is Paris's turn. And this is a fun little thing. I enjoyed more of the books in Friday and Cats than I thought I would, and I'm both excited and nervous for Paris's because Paris is a huge romance girly. Like, every book on this list is romance, and that's literally not my cup of tea at all. But who knows what might happen? I might actually really enjoy these in the long run. How Moving with Friends works is that I give them the list of number of books that I want, and then there's a couple of rules. So for January, I asked for 10 to 12 books, and the only rules was it couldn't have my trigger warnings, it couldn't be super duper long, and it couldn't be like in a series that I probably wouldn't continue like past the first one. So pretty simple rules, and everyone's had no problem following them, unless you're Friday, who I bent the rules for a little bit, but I had no need to bend them for Paris because Paris is like a wholesome. She does read smut, but they're a lot more like tame, nothing scary, nothing gory. Like, it's just like normal, not normal. Not that Friday reads unnormal books, but like more typical contemporary that you would imagine someone like Paris to be reading. So let's get into it. Let's get into the January books. Paris provided me a list of 11 books. She had a hard time picking out a 12th one, so I ended up picking out a 12th one for her that's like on theme with everything. I own two of them physically, so I'll start with those. One of the books that Paris is going to have me read is a book we actually got together called The Last Tiger. It is a special edition. It is absolutely stunning. This is a YA fantasy, and even like the end pages, absolutely beautiful. I'll just read like the little blurb because I don't know anything about these books. It says, in a colonized land where tigers are being hunted to extinction, an ancient magic stirs two star-crossed teens from opposite worlds, a servant yearning for freedom, and a noble goal-defying tradition join forces to try to reshape their respective fates. So it's like almost like a forbidden love story. Sapphic, to my understanding. We got this at the store together during Friendsgiving, and it's so perfect that they're going to add this to our list because I was already planning on reading this soon anyways. So this is technically not book number one, but it's the first book I'm showing you. So this is one of the books that Paris is going to have me read. The second book that was on Paris's list that I own is not actually mine, but it's the library's. I will be reading Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Ali Hazelwood is actually Paris's favorite romance author, so this is not the only Ali Hazelwood book on this TBR. This is the one that I got from the library, and I have to return it by February. So this actually worked out perfectly. Other books in this video that you'll see from the library, and they all are due in February. So I put them all on this TBR to hopefully get them done in time. There's no late fees or anything like that. I just want to be able to return the books so that someone else can get them. I just know that Bride is a shifter romance, and there's naughty in it, which I know a lot of people were disturbed by. But I actually have no problem with that. It says, a vampire bride and an alpha werewolf form a dangerous alliance in this enthralling new paranormal romance. Misery Lark, daughter of a powerful vampire councilman, is an outcast. Her days of living anonymously among the humans are over. She has been called upon to uphold an alliance between the vampires and the mortal enemies, the Wares. Hell yeah. So I do know that nodding kind of really disturbed people. I read these kind of books all the time, so that's not going to be a bother to me at all, actually. And yeah, so out of all the Holly Hazelwood books, this is the one that I think is most up my alley, and the one that I most will probably enjoy the most. And I'll go ahead and speak about the other Allie Hazelwood books because, we were already on there. I don't own these. These will be books that I actually get digitally, but I will be reading her like STEM books, which is like The Love Hypothesis, Love on the Brain, Love Theoretically. They're like academic romances. I actually don't know anything other than their STEM. And I don't know if I really want to look up what they're about. I think I might enjoy them more if I kind of go in blind. Also a romance, which they had been saying that they'd been wanting to read but hadn't gotten to it, and they wanted me to read it to get my opinion, is a book called The Bull Moon Rising. To my understanding, this is literally a smut with a bull. And they were like, I've been kind of curious about that, and you should read it to let me know if it's any good. It says, in a world of magical artifacts and fantastical beings, a woman determined to save her family joins forces with an unlikely partner in this captivating, steamy romantasy. Well, maybe I don't want to know much more about these. Maybe I want to go in blind. Then we have Legends and Lattes, and to be honest, I have avoided this book on purpose. If there's anyone that can get me to read Legends and Lattes, or anyone to get me to read Allie Hazelwood, it will be Paris. And I'm doing this for Paris. If anyone ever asked me to outside of Paris, I would have been like, hell no. But I love Paris, and I want to read some of her favorite things so that I can understand her on a different level. I'm not a cozy fantasy person. I have recently learned that. I get very bored with them, and I've kind of just always avoided Legends and Lattes because I did not think it'd be my cup of tea, and I thought I would have to hate on it, which would make people not like me because it's a very beloved book, but I thought if anyone would hate it, it'd be me. And now we're going to find out if I love it or hate it. That being said, I don't want to go in biased with already like a hate towards it, so I am going to try to like wipe my mind free and go in as open-minded as I possibly can. I'm not even going to try to guess ratings for these like I do in other episodes, because I think this will be the hardest challenge for me today, because these are so many romances and we already know how I feel about romances. So I think I need to be like clear-minded. I don't want to be like a 3. I don't want to be like a 4. Like I don't want to speak it into existence. I'm just going to be like, I'm going to be open-minded. I'm going to say, this could go either way. I could hate this. I could love this. We're going to find out together. So I will be reading Legends and Lattes, which is a cozy fantasy, and Sapphic. I know that Paris picked out several Sapphics for me because I am Sapphic myself and I love reading gay books. The next book on this list is Legendborn, which is the start of a series, but I told Paris I didn't mind because I'm sure how much she loves it. I'm going to read all of them just to understand why she loves them so much, so I have no problem with it being on the list. This is a YA fantasy. She doesn't even like YA books, so for her to rant and rave about how much she loves this book, I know it must be amazing. And it's like a person of color, and this book I hear so much about. I just never got into it yet. Like, it's like has been on my radar, but now Paris is kind of giving me like a little bit of a push to read it, and I think out of all of them, this is the one I'm most excited to read. We have That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon, which is like, she really enjoys these like smut books. They're like silly smut books to her, but she says that she really, really enjoys them. I think she's read like all of them. I really do think that she's read almost all of them. Or maybe he's like in the middle of reading them, but they are like smut, which I'm thankful for because I do, in fact, enjoy some smut. If you want to make me enjoy romance, going the smut route is always the best route. And then wrapping up this... No, I have 2 more books, sorry. And we're getting close to the end. These other 2, I believe, are romanticises. The next one is A Fragile Enchantment, which I've actually never heard of. I've never, ever heard of this book. And I don't even see that she's read it. So has she not read this and she's wanting me to get my opinion on it? This says it is for readers drawn to slow-born courtship, laced with scandal and the ache of loving when time is short, quiet yearning sharpened by social knives, Ideal if you crave measured pacing, emotional stitch magic, and Regency toned elegancy that balances hopeful sparkle with the threat of exposure. Okay, why does that actually sound fucking amazing? Why does that sound like Bridgerton meets fantasy? Actually, she probably is why she picked this. It's a long one, but I am obsessed with the cover. It is beautiful. It's stunning. I'm intrigued. This might be the one that intrigues me the most, actually, because I've never heard of this book ever. I've never ever in my life heard of this book. Like, not even like in passing. Like, this is actually it's from 2024. This is actually the first time that I have seen this book listed somewhere ever. One is a fantasy series that I have heard Paris ask me to read for several months now. I think they just got the second book. It's called The Games Gods Play, which I believe she gave almost a 5. She has talked about this book so much. I think it has to do with like mythical romantasy. So I think, oh yes, it is, it deals with Zeus. Okay. I see what's happening here. She knows how much I enjoy mythological like books. This is gonna be so up my alley. I'm getting so excited. I don't want to look into these books too much because I don't want to form an early opinion like I was saying. But that wraps up the list of books I will be reading for Paris. I am reading some books outside of what Paris picked for me, and one was one book that I picked as her 12th book, which is People We Meet on Vacation, because the movie comes out in January for her birthday, and we're gonna watch it together, and I'm just gonna go ahead and read it for her. She's never read it either. We're gonna buddy read it, but I don't know if she'll actually get to it in January, but I'm going to read it, if nothing else. So this is technically the 12th book that I picked for her, because I was like, you know what, if I'm already reading romances, I might as well add to that. And so then the other library books that I'll be reading is How the King of Ephelham Learned to Hate Stories, which will wrap up the Crow Prince series for me. And then Every Spiral of Fate by the author of Shatter Me. This will not complete a series, but this is the next one of the series, which is This Woven Kingdom. It is like so similar to Shatter Me, but different to Shatter Me, and I enjoy it differently than I do Shatter Me. So people that tell me they don't like Shatter Me, I always say, well, have you picked this one up? Because it's like better in some ways, but I'm just so attached to Aaron Warner that no one will ever beat him for me. But this one, I think, is more entertaining, especially if you're not like in the young adult realm. Like, I think this might be an adult fantasy. I think it might be, actually. So if you're an adult and you ever want to pick up this author again, piece of cat, maybe give the series a try. It's like political. It's like political fantasy, which I know my friend Piece of Cat is intrigued by that because we talked about Fourth Wing a couple of times, and she was like, I was just into the political stuff and the dragons. I wanted none of the smut. And to my memory, this doesn't really have smut in it. I think a lot of this is like, I can't say too much, but as you can tell from the cover, there is in fact dragons in this series. Or is that a dragon? That's something. There's some kind of animal. It's been like I think it's been like 2 years since I read the other books. I might have to do a reread. So that wraps up my January TBR. If you watched my Preparing for 2026 TBR, you probably heard me say that I'm not going to ever go past 12 books. This is the exception for a couple of reasons, because like it's a Mooing with Friends episode, but then it's also, I have library books that are due. So this one I'm going to go 2 books over. But like moving forward, unless it's another Mooing with Friends episode, you shouldn't typically ever see me go over that. And it's not like how I was doing 15, 16 this year. So 2026, this is still technically less when I was reading. And some of these are really short books. So to me, like the shorter books kind of equal out one book when I add them together in my brain. I know that makes no sense, but like, does anyone else do that? Does anyone say like, oh, this novella plus a novella equals one full-size book? So it counts as one book on my TBR instead of 2 books. That probably makes no sense. That's just girl reading math for me. So there's a couple of these books that are like less than 300 pages. Those 2 books together makes one book on my TBR. So technically, I am not over what I said, but if you look at the physical count, it will be 14. But to me, it's not 14. To me, it's 12. Does that make sense? You're like, no, it doesn't make sense. If you haven't watched it, I will link all of the previous Mooing with Friends episodes so that you could go watch them if you're intrigued by how the other ones went. But yeah, this is my January TBR, and this is my last video of 2025, because the video after this is my December/2025 wrap-up, which will be coming out the first week of January. That's why this one's not coming out on the 1st, because I wanted to space them out a little bit. So this is coming out the Sunday before the end of the month, and then the other one's coming out the first Sunday of the new year. Thanks for hanging out with me, friends. Thanks for watching. Because I feel like the latter part of 2025 got so chaotic that I was struggling to like talk about books, even though that's like my hobby is to talk about books. Sometimes I was just like, I finished this, but I can't do anything else because I gotta go to the next book. Hopefully, now that I'm slowing down in 2026, that will give me some more meaningful conversations around books. So I know in my 2026 video where I was preparing for 2026, I mentioned how my monthly TBR would be set up. This is the exceptions. Anytime you see a Mooing with Friends one, that's always breaking the exceptions. So the first time you'll actually see that TBR plan put into place is in February. So if you're like, May, you're not even doing what you said. It's because it's Mooing with Friends, okay? Mooing with Friends is a big deal. I have to read as many books as I can by my friends, okay? I have to. It's a necessity. No one's telling me to other than myself. But I hope I made everything sound like the way that it's supposed to, and I'm really excited for this, and I can't wait. I don't know what I'm going to start with first. I asked Paris if she had a preference when I read first, and she was like, no, read whatever you want. Friday had me do a wheel spin, and I might just do that for everyone going forward, is I might just put all these books in a wheel and then spin it. And I might go ahead and do that. Bye, friends. Thank you so much for watching.